going on that, and it looks like it's going to start doing it. Let me get rid of some of the things that I have open here. All right, it says that it is live streaming, but let me double check because sometimes it doesn't. All right, looks like it wants us to go to the news feed, which is very good. And we are indeed broadcasting. So let's get going. Let's get started here with the brief prayers, the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much once again, dear devotees. And it's good to see Surabhi Govinda Mataji joining us today. Fantastic. Good to see you and good to have you back. And of course, our regulars are also here, including our Meera Mataji. Meera Mataji.
Oh.
Little.
Let me put my name.
Okay. All right. So we said that we're going to do verse number 618 today, in contrast to 6 in contrast to 518, which is that famous verse, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Chopake Cha Pandita Samadarshina, where we talked about that those who are knowledgeable, those who are in knowledge, they look at everything in the similar manner. Actually, in this 6th chapter also, we were talking about that as people advance, then they start looking at things in a similar manner. And it started first with saying lost ashma, right? Pebbles and stone and kanchan, gold. They start taking everything. They start looking at everything and considering everything to be the same thing, right? And what that meant was that if it is, why did they consider gold and pebbles to be the same? The sameness comes from the fact that they are all material things, right? And then in the verse after that, we talked about that the equality is not just on the material objects level, but it also comes to the human level, where in your interactions, you also bring in equanimity, which was where we said that's a whole list, right? Friends, enemies, mediators, benefactors, neutral, right? Like that, all those people, it listed that we are all going to treat them equally, right? So that was some 5.18 spilling into 6.6 chapter as well. Don't remember the numbers for that. But today's verse 18 is slightly different from that. So without much ado, we'll look at 618 coming up on a screen close to you. Let me know if you can see it. Can you?
Not yet, Mataji.
All right. Then,
Yes.
I can say it.
Yes.
all right. Now you can see it. That's good. So, yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta ucyate tadā. Yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta ucyate tadā. Yadā viniyataṁ cittam ātmani evāvatiṣṭhate nispṛhaḥ sarva-kāmebhyo yukta ucyate tadā. Synonyms: yadā. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya, right? Yadā means when. Viniyatam, particularly disciplined, right? So you know niyam, right? Niyam, right? Rules and regulations. One who follows that, the rules and regulations follows the discipline. So he's niyatam. And in Sanskrit, if you add vi to it, right? Vi is an intensifier. It makes it stronger, whatever is the rest of the word. So he said discipline and says adding viniyatam. Discipline is niyatam. So adding viniyat to it. So viniyatam makes it particularly disciplined. So they're very, very disciplined, right? Cittam, the mind and its activities. Ātmani, in the transcendence. Eva, certainly. Avatiṣṭhate, becomes situated. Nispṛhaḥ, devoid of desire. Sarva, for all kinds of. Kāmebhyaḥ, material sense gratification. Yuktaḥ, well situated in yoga. Iti, thus. Ucyate is said to be. Tadā, at that time. Translation: when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So when a yogi, by practice of yoga, right? So as you're practicing the yoga, you go from one stage to another stage. What are those two stages that we have been talking about in chapter 6? There were two stages.
Yoga Rudha.
Yes, very correct for 500 points, right? And which one is which? Which is the neophyte stage and which is the advanced stage?
Yoga Rikshu is neophyte and elevated stage is Yoga Rudha.
Yoga Rudha, correct. So when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. The activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person. This is the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So when the yogi, by practice of yoga, so he is practicing that, and then from the yoga ruksha stage, he is reaching towards the yoga rudha stage. He disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, right? So when you get rid of all material desires, you are automatically in transcendence. He's said to be well established in yoga. So this is what they're telling you the goal of yoga. The goal of the yoga is not to get a beautiful body, right? And not to be able to touch any planet from here, not to become smaller than the smallest, not to become larger than the largest. The goal of devotional of yoga is to be finally devoid of all material desires. So the dhyan yoga that you're doing should make you do that or take you to that level. Okay? So purport, in the purport Srila Prabhupada is saying, the activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. Right? So in the translation, they had said, when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities. So what are some of the mental activities, you think? You don't do any mental activities? There's a complete silence.
Yes, no, try to remember something, memorize something.
Okay. So let's see how the mental activities follow us during the day. So when you get up in the morning, do you have any mental activity?
Yes, Mataji.
What is a mental activity? Will you care to share on Facebook?
What we need, yes.
Go ahead.
What I need to cook, what I need to do.
Right.
the household work, the whole day, where I need to go. That's the thing.
Right? Yeah. So as soon as the alarm goes off, I mean, the first thought could be, oh, dang, the alarm, I like to sleep for 5 more minutes, right? Or it could be, oh, I need to jump because I need to catch a plane, right? So from there itself, yes. And then, of course, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to take a shower, I need to start chanting, and, and then, of course, what to cook, this, like that. So those mental activities are routine mental activities, day-to-day mental activities. And then sometimes we have spikes in these mental activities, right? We get angry at somebody, we get envious at somebody, and then the mental activities just, they increase exponentially like that, right? So there's a lot of mental activity that goes on. And here the idea is that you have to discipline the mental activities. Otherwise, the mind constantly chatters to you. There's a constant chatter that goes on in the mind. Does it happen to you guys, or it's just me? That who hears the chatter inside?
Yes, also, Mataji.
Happens, right? Yeah, right. So then he's saying, and all that is happening because of material desires, of which Prabhupada is saying sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he cannot no longer be disturbed by any kind of material desire. Give me a classic example of a perfect yogi who was so disciplined in activities of the mind that he could not be disturbed.
Mataji, Haridas Thakur.
Awesome, good for 500 points. And give me the example of one who was disturbed.
Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra, there you go. So this perfectional stage can automatically be attained by persons in Krishna consciousness, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9:4-18-20. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayor vachamsi vaikunta gunanuvarnane Karav harer mandira marjanadishu Srutim chakarachyuta satkatode Mukundalingalaya darshani drishao Tatpritya gatra sparshenga sangamam Ghranam cha tatpada saroja saurabhe Shrimat-tulasya rasanam tadarpite Padau harer kshetra padanusarpane Shiro hrishikesha padabhivandane Kamam cha dasye natu kama kamyaya Yathottama shloka janashrayaratihi. So it's talking about King Ambrisha. What did King Ambrisha do? King Ambrisha first of all engaged in mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one after another, he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, his hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental form of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. Okay, so let's start looking at the list again. There's a long list of what King Ambrisha did, right? The 3 verses. 4 lines each. So 12 lines are describing what he did. So he's saying he first of all engaged his mind in the lotus feet of the Lord. Now let's see how many, do a mental check on your side. So engaged his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. Do we do that? Do you engage your mind ever in the lotus feet of the Lord? No? Yes?
During
Mataji.
chanting a little
Ever?
while, Mataji.
Say that again.
During chanting a little while, Mataji.
During
We
chanting.
try it, but again it's pulling, then again we bring it in.
Okay, so it runs away, but maybe for like 1 microsecond.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so we engage our mind in the lotus feet of the Lord, Krishna. Okay, and then do we engage our words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord? Do you ever describe his transcendental qualities to anybody in this world? Have you ever talked about Krishna to anybody?
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yes, all right. In hands and mopping the temple of the Lord, have you done that? Cleaned? Ever?
No.
Temple?
Didn't
Okay,
mop,
your
Mataji,
altar?
but little cleaning.
Your altar at home?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
would.
Ears in hearing the activities of the Lord.
Yes.
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 All right. Eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord.
Yes.
How many of you watch those the darshan pictures that get floated around, right? Every temple somebody will do the make the dressing of the Lord, and then after after the morning arti, darshan arti, then the pictures get circulated, right? How many of you watch those pictures? Eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord. Do you do? Nobody does it?
Yes, Mataji, I have seen many times that pictures.
Okay. Chaitanya Priya's mom. Do you do
Yes,
that?
Mataji.
You do that?
Yes,
Okay.
Mataji.
So what does it mean? Like we join some darshanarti group, and then the pictures descend, like 25, 30 pictures descend on that. And we say, okay, now eyes are in seeing the transcendental form of the Lord. What does it mean? It means that, if the picture came to you in the morning, and if in the evening I ask you that, what type of necklace Krishna was wearing, you should be able to answer that question. So when you're seeing the deity of the Lord, the seeing should be very intense. And we should be looking at all the intricate details, starting from the lotus feet of the Lord and slowly going upwards till we reach the ground. Radharani and Krishna. Okay? So next time you get those pictures come to you, that is how you will engage your eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord. Otherwise, we go to the temple, we bow down, we come out of the temple, somebody asks, what color was the dress? We don't know. Right? Like that. So eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord. His body in touching the bodies of the devotees. Do you do that? Do you ever touch the body of a devotee?
Yes, Mataji, when we interact, when we reciprocate with the devotees, the Matajis and all, then we hug them and
Okay,
have this.
very good. And sense of smell, do you engage your sense of smell in selling the scents of the flowers offered to the Lord?
Yes, Mataji, when the pujari gives us the flowers, then we
then you
take
smell
it.
them, right? And then tongue in tasting the tulsi leaf. Do you ever taste the tulsi leaves?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Okay. And have you ever engaged your legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple?
Very happy.
Very happy. And then have you used your head in offering obeisances to the Lord?
Yes.
Okay. So far, so good. Now let's come to the last one. And desires in executing the mission of the Lord. Have you engaged all your desires in executing the mission of the Lord? Some of them, all of them, none of them.
Some of them.
Multiple choice question, right? Yeah. So as you transcend from yoga rukshu to roga yuda, the percentage of the desires, right? Percentage of our desires all become focused towards Krishna. Majority of our desires will be like that, right? If we all step back, or at least if I step back to 20 years ago, my desires were never to go to the temple of the Lord. My desires were, let's go to party. It's weekend. I want to relax. Let me sleep. I'm tired. Like that, right? But when you start progressing in devotional service by the mercy of devotees like Srila Prabhupada, who have written these books, and others around us who are still on walking this planet, then, slowly, slowly that cleansing happens. And these devotional activities that we do, they lead to the cleansing of our consciousness. And we don't even, so what exactly is a bad consciousness versus a good consciousness? What exactly is consciousness? Like everywhere, cheto darpan mardini, they clean your consciousness. But how does the consciousness, get polluted and starts thinking all kinds of nonsense? Like, or an example. So let me give you an example, and to try to explain this concept to you. So suppose you buy tickets, right? And you buy tickets and you go to see a movie, right? Or even, if you're in a temple and they're doing a drama, you go and, you're watching that drama, right? So when you enter the theater, you walk to the lights are on, you walk to the street, to your seat, and then you walk to your seat and you see that the seat is there, there's a red cushion on the seat. Okay, who's sitting to my right? Who's sitting to my left? Who's sitting in front of me? Right, like that. So you see everything, and you see that there is a screen in front of the theater, and that's where they're going to show you the movie. Right? So at that point, your consciousness is very clear as to the reality. The reality is that that's a room. In the room, there is a screen, and there are chairs, and you are sitting on those chairs, and you will be watching the screen, right? And then the movie starts, right? So when the movie starts, and the heroine is crying, and there are tears in her eyes. And then there is that chase that happens in all the movies, right? The bad men are following the heroes, and their guns and pistols and cars and racing and all that, and the heart starts beating very fast, right? Why does it happen? The consciousness gets polluted. We lose the clarity that whatever is happening on the screen is not real. The fact that we are of that drama, right? It happens even in the temple. Like you do Ramayana and the Ram is banished and everybody starts crying, right? Because you start identifying there, like that, right? But there's a difference between identifying with the play on Ramchandraji versus the heroine thing, right? So, so when you lose your understanding, right, and the consciousness gets polluted, and the extreme consciousness pollution, aided by false ego, is that you completely lose track of the fact that you are the soul, and you constantly and always think that you are the body, right? And so the cleansing of the consciousness happens, then the clarity will be brought to us. Right now, our vision is very, blurry. And so these activities, these devotional activities are going to bring some clarity to us, right? And what aids in not bringing the clarity to us is the sense, our senses. Our senses are going to gather information to us to aid with whatever other desires which are lurking in our heart still. And so you'll start seeing and seeking out those kind of things out in this material world, right? And it becomes very difficult to control the senses because there's something happening from inside your desire, and there is impetus from outside, right? Outside the world, the stimulus is coming. So and the soul is already thinking I'm the body. So it's like, okay, so then let's just do whatever is being presented to me, right? So completely polluted consciousness. Mind is not in control at all. You get a stimulus from outside, you immediately react and take action on that. Right? But today's verse is saying viniyataṁ. Viniyataṁ means that you have to control, which basically also means that you have to control your senses. So now the question is that we hear so much about like senses are bad, senses are this, senses are that. When we do devotional service, your senses will come under control. So why do you think by doing devotional service and not anything else? For example, there's hatha yoga, right? How about doing some asanas, doing some pranayamas, right? Doing some yam and niyam, do's and don'ts, right? By doing that, why is the mind not under complete control? Okay, in the beginning of the class, you said there was one person who failed, who was doing, right? And there are many more. But one famous person who failed while trying to control the mind, right? And he also talked about one famous person who was able to control the mind despite all the temptations that were offered to that person. And the difference between the two was one was doing devotional service. So why is it that, by devotional service this happened, and why not by any of the other equally difficult things, right? Like Vishwamitra was doing tapasya for so many years. It's not an easy thing that he was doing, right? So why do you think doing devotional service helps you control your senses?
The Hatha yoga and other yoga, we think we can do it and we are doing Mataji. Devotional service, we are leaving to the Lord. And then we are like, it's His mercy. So He's taking over. So that's why we are able to control our mind and senses. That's what I feel.
We are able to control? You're almost there. Polish your response a little bit. You are able to control?
Yes,
Yantra
Mataji,
No,
to some
Rurani.
Mataji,
extent.
Krishna is the controller. We have the free will.
Correct. Krishna is the controller, right? Our senses are created from Krishna, by Krishna. From his body, these senses are created. Krishna is Rishikesh, right? Rishikesh, Rishik means senses. Rishik, Esh means controller. Isha, controller. So Rishik Esh becomes Rishikesh. It sounds like Rishi and Kesh, as in higher. No, it is Rishik and Ish. Ish, and that becomes Rishikesh by combining together. So, because the senses are created by Krishna, only Krishna can control the senses. So, when we engage in devotional service, as Mataji was pointing out, that we are surrendered to Krishna. And we are saying, okay, Krishna, you take control of everything, right? That's what Prabhupada, when he was coming to America, he said when he boarded the Jalduta, right? He said, Krishna, if you want to make me dance, you make me dance. That was surrender, right? So similarly, the devotee will surrender to Krishna. And as soon as we surrender to Krishna, then Krishna will take over. And since Krishna is the Lord of the senses, Rishikesh, then your senses get control. If you try to surrender to anybody else, right, then it's not going to happen. It has got to be Krishna only, like that, right? So let's continue on with our chapter for today, with our verse for today, 6:18. So our King Ambrish was doing so many things. And as we were checking, we were able to do most of it, except for the one where we said the last one is that the desires in executing the mission of the Lord, that'll make or break the thing, right? And as we progress in devotional service, then these desires also become very, very intensified. Like I was telling you last time, like Nam Gane Ruchi, just want to sing the praises of the Lord. You know, wherever Krishna lives, I want to live over there. Avartikalatam, I don't want to waste even a single minute. I want to stay awake the whole time. As Sanatan Goswami used to sleep only 2 hours a day, sometimes not even that, like that, right? So that your things will become intensified. So now this interesting thing that they're talking about King Ambrish and all the things that King Ambrish did was basically he utilized his whole body in the service of the Lord, right? The body, there's a form there. But now here, Prabhupada is saying that this transcendental stage, right? So when he's engaging his legs in the service of the Lord, hands and sweeping, body like that, all that here, eyes, everything, these are transcendental activities because they are linked with Krishna. So these activities are Krishna and they are quite befitting a pure devotee. However, he says that this transcendental stage, when you are completely engaged in the service of the Lord, may be inexpressible subjectively by the followers of the impersonalist path. So those who do not believe in the form of the Lord, right? So if you don't believe in the form of the Lord, there's no need for you to go to the temple, right? Then what will you enjoy, right? You won't look at his lotus feet. You won't look at any flowers offered to him because there's nothing that is offered there, right? So Prabhupada is saying that if you are an impersonalist, then this joy that you get, and you would have noticed also, right, that when you do seva to Krishna, you're so very happy. We feel that inner happiness coming. And the reason for that inner happiness is because we are wired to do that. That is our true nature. So when we are aligned with our true nature, then we will, by default, we will be happy like that there. Right? So he's saying that if you are an impersonalist, then you will not get the joy of all these nice, joyful activities that King Ambrish Maharaj was following, right? Unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called archana, or engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord. The senses and the mind require engagements. Simple abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, that not sannyasis, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind is described above, is the perfect process for transcendental achievement. This is called yukta in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So yukta basically means that you should be engaged in doing the service to the Lord. The meaning of yukta, otherwise yukta means to connect, right? So you can connect anything to a connect. You can take an ox and you can connect the ox to the cart. You can take a horse, you can connect the horse to the cart, right? You can take a stick and you can beat somebody and get connected that way, right? So connections are there. You can take two hands, you can connect, you can have a handshake, you can connect, right? So people can connect in so many different ways, right? But the real connection that they're talking about is when you connect with the Lord. And so the true meaning of yukta is just that, right? And here in this verse, Prabhupada was saying, mentions that right here, he's saying that unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called archana, or engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord, right? So now I just want you to think about this. So here you are, some of you are in India, some of you are East Coast, West Coast, like that. Some are in different countries of the world listening to this. And so imagine, close your eyes and imagine that in different parts of this planet Earth, people are praying. They could be of a different religious background, but they are praying to the Lord, right? And then, of course, there are many more who are not doing it like that, right? Now, have you ever imagined that in this universe, there are so many planets, so many planetary systems, right? And do you think people could be worshipping God there also? Or worship goes on only here?
Yes.
Mataji.
Yes, right? So I'm just going to bring certain things, bring up a deck here. I had talked to you about this earlier also, a little bit, but we'll just see how that applies, in the context of our discussion that's going on here. Okay, so let me bring up, how do I share my screen again? I lost my console. Oh, return to the meeting. Okay, here I am. Okay, sharing the screen again with you. This time going to the slide deck. All right, here we go. Right? So we all know that there are 14 planetary systems, right? Right or wrong?
All right.
Right? Yadā bhavana, right? They say 14 planetary systems. So those planetary systems, as you can see, are given here. So there's Patal, starting from the bottom. The most lowermost is Patal, Rasatal, Mahatal, Talatal, Sutal, Vital, Atal, right? So these are, sometimes they also, in one word, they are called as Patal Lok, right? So all these bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 7 below are also known as the lower planetary systems or the Patal Lokas, right? And then we have in the middle, Bhuvar Loka and Bhur Loka, right? These are also known as Martya Loka or earthly planet. So sometimes there's one word used as Prithvi, right? So Prithvi could also mean all the set of all these planets. It's also sometimes addressed as by the word Prithvi. And then after that, we have the heavenly planets going up. So we had the Pata Lokas, heavenly planets. So Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka. So as we progress in this particular direction, the devotional service increases and the body also becomes lighter, right? As we progress in the downward direction over here, there is more opulence and the body becomes more and more and more heavy like that. And people don't pray to Krishna except for one or two like Bali Maharaj and all that. But in majority of the cases, people are just enjoying. Now, the interesting thing is that we all talk about Swarglok, after death, I want to go to Swarglok, right? So you might go to any of these planets here, and there is a lot of opulence in these planets. Now, compared to that, there is opulence here also. And the interesting thing is that the opulence over here is a lot more than the opulence that is there in the Swarg planets. Now, the difference between the two is that although there is opulence over here, the people in these planetary systems are aware. They're aware that there is God. And even if they're enjoying things, they will enjoy keeping Krishna in mind. Whereas in this lotus, there is no awareness of God at all. None at all. People are just enjoying. And that's it. And the opulence here is more than the opulence on the topmost planets, right? These middle planets are called Martya Loka, earthly planets, where there is death, right? So if we focus over here, right, in this Bhuvar Loka, in the inside over here, Then over here, there is, a set of planets which are there. And this area over here is known as the Bhumandal, right? So over here, you see the Satal, Vital, Atal, and below that will be Talatal and all that. Those floating planetary systems are there. And then Swarlok, Bhuarlok, all those Janalok, Tapalok will be up higher over there. Now we're going to focus on this part of it, right? This one, the Martya Loka, right? This whole thing is known as Bhumandal. So if you have heard about that. So let's look a little bit deeper into the Bhumandala. Right, so this Bhumandala is very famous and characterized by the fact that there is Mount Meru. You see this mountain? This mountain is right in the middle of it. And this is about, 80 yojanas, 100 yojanas high. 1 yojana is about 8 miles. So you can imagine this mountain is 800 miles, right? Tall. And then below also. So out of not 800, 100, right? So out of the 100, out of the 80% of it is above this, right? So 800 miles, 800 miles, yeah, or 80 yojanas. And then below that is the rest of it. So 20 is below it, below this part of it. Okay. Now this whole mountain, Mount Meru, is made of gold. So that's a very characteristic and very different thing from the mountains that we see in our lives, right? Now, few months ago, I'd asked you this question that what is the definition of an island, right? And we all had said that island is a piece of land which is surrounded by water, right? That's what we learned in our geography lessons here, right? Now, when we look at it from our Shastric perspective, the Shastras are also saying exactly the same thing. They are saying, yes, island, we call that as a dweep, and it will be a piece of land surrounded by a liquid, right? Some sort of a liquid, except for whatever the concept that we have in our mind of an island. For example, when I look at this picture over here, right? So this is an island, right? This is an island because I can see some blue color around it. So there is this water all around it, right? So this is definitely an island that we know. However, if we start moving towards the left or towards the right, then we see that these are these annular rings which are there, right? You see these rings like that. And so each of these rings is also made up of land. So this is also a ring made up of land. And on either side of this ring, there is water or some sort of a liquid is there. So by the definition, when we say an island is a piece of land surrounded by some liquid, then this is also an island. This is also an island. This is also an island. It's also an island. So it's very, very different from how we perceive and how we look at the islands themselves, right? Now, so this, when we say, is not necessarily an island, like as you would see, like a continuous ring. This could have many, many planets. So there could be many, 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 many planets like that make up that particular ring. And as you can see, there is a huge number of items that are planets that are there, right? So we will focus on, this a little bit, the middle one, which is known as Jambu Dweep, right? And why are we focusing on Jambu Dweep? That is because we live on Jambu Dweep. We are situated on Jambu Dweep. So if we focus on this part, that we go over here, this is our Sumeru or Meru mountain on the top. And then you see Jambu Dweep, and it is surrounded by water. Okay. Now, in the middle of the Jambu Dweep is our golden, but then there are also other mountain ranges. As you can see, this is one mountain range, this is another mountain range, Hiranmaya. So these mountain ranges, they also divide this Jambu Dweep also into many, many pieces, right? Or 9 pieces, something like that. So you can see there's a Malyavan mountain, Gandhamadan mountain is there. So many times you hear this story about who was that? Gajapati, right? The famous story of crocodile, right? And the elephant. So where was he? So he was over here in the Gandhaman, and he was enjoying the planets over here. So he was on Bhumandala in this portion of it, right? And this, you see the mountains over here. These are our famous Himalaya mountains that you see, right? And onto this side of the mountain, there is Bharatvarsh where we live. On other side of this mountain is Kimpurusha Varsha. On the other side of this, there is Hari Varsha, right? So then if you go on this side of this, then Malyavan mountain and Nishad mountain range, they break it up. And so there is Bhadrash Varsha, Gandhamadan mountain and Nishad mountain, they divide into this place. There is Ketumala Varsha, right? Then the Nila mountains, they divide. And once this they divide the island, and from that you get Ramyaka Varsha, then Shweta mountain range. From there you get Hiranmaya Varsha, and then Shringavan mountain, then you get Uttara Kuru Varsha, like that. So you see Bhumandala, the Jambu Dweep that we talk about in the Bhumandala, which is just the center part of it, that also is divided into so many pieces here. And we are here, our earthly planet system is somewhere over here, like that, right? So this was just focusing on the center part, over here in the center part of it, right? But then there are, like we said, there are many, like if I look at, if I look at this particular diagram, right? So we were just focusing on Jambudweep, but there are many also islands outside, the 7 islands outside of that. So this is a cross-sectional view of that particular island. Just move that out of the way, get it out of the way here, right? So you see over here, so this is our Jambudweep in the middle of it, which is surrounded by a sea of salt, right? And then after that, we get Palakshadweep. This dweep is called Palakshadweep. This ring is called Palakshadweep, and it is surrounded by a sea of sugarcane juice. After that, we get Shalmali Dweep, and which is surrounded by a sea of wine. After that, we get Kusha Dweep, and there's a lot of Kusha grass on this dweep. Then we get a sea of ghee. After the Kusha Dweep, we get the Kroncha Dweep, and there are some, Kroncha trees over there. And this is surrounded by a sea of yogurt. And then after that, we get Shakadweep, and then there is a sea of milk. After that, we get Pushkara Dweep, which is surrounded by a sea of pure water. And then even after that, as you continue to move on the Bhumandala towards this side, then you will see that there is a range of mountains. It doesn't show that in the picture, but there's a range of mountains that surrounds it. Those mountains are also made of gold. And it is so bright on those mountains because the sun is like here. The sun is, goes around the Bhumandal like that. And then the mountains are so bright that, if you go close to the mountains, the light reflects so hard on your eyes that you cannot see it. And it's very difficult to cross over this mountain range and go to the other side. And why we are saying that it's difficult to cross over and go to the other side is that if I go back to this page here, where we were talking about the 14 planetary system, right? So these 14 planetary system, or better still in this diagram, these 14 planetary system make up our universe, right? And our universe itself is, outside the universe is Brahma Jyoti, right? So if I try to go out of my, the Bhumandala area and try to get into the Brahma Jyoti, it's not easy that you just get on some sort of a high-speed plane and you can go there. No, there are mountains over here that you can't even see that. Very, very difficult to cross. And we see in the Krishna book that Krishna takes Arjuna, and with the help of Krishna, he's able to, cross over and go to this side, and then they go up there to the heavenly planets like that. So I just wanted to emphasize here that it's nice to see and to know that we have these various dweeps are there, and then that there is devotional service also going on there. I will continue after I take this question. I think Surabhi Govindam Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is very nice talk. Thank you. I was just wondering, when you went to the mandala picture with the lotus and everything, of course we see a lot of mandalas and so forth, but why the translation into the mandala? Is there any sort of specific, especially with using the lotus leaf in that way and depiction?
Yes, it is. In fact, when we are describing this particular area over here, they say that it is shaped like a lotus, and you see over here the filaments of the lotus. So all these are actually it's difficult to see when we are there, right? But if we were to just go somewhere high up and then we see how these mountains are laid and how these various objects are there, it looks like a lotus. In fact, these things that look like filaments, these are also mountain ranges only. So they are mountains, so they are shaped like a lotus, but not, they might not be pink colored as a lotus. But for example, if you can take all the let's take all the bowls that we have, right, in which we eat food. So we can take all the bowls and we can arrange it on a dining table in the shape of a lotus, right? Can we? So similarly, and so from the top, if somebody looks like, he'll say, oh, there's a lotus on her dining table because it looks like a lotus. But so similarly, when we start looking at it from a higher level, these are shaped like lotus. And then this lotus structure is very famous because the lotus has got a lot to do with the universe. Like here, you see it's shaped like a lotus, right? And then when we go to Brahma's planet, it is also like a lotus. When we go to Vrindavan here in our planet, in our India, those are also shaped like a lotus. So you will see this reference to the mandala a lot of time. Madhav Sangini, Mataji, go ahead.
Oh, Hare Krishna, everybody. So when you showed that diagram of the mountains on all four sides, and then our dweep is surrounded by salt water, and then it said Bharat. So is our whole earth Bharat, or is it really just India?
It's a very good question. The Bharat is used, and the earth, the word earth is used very loosely, right? So this is like, this says it is Bharatvarsh, which would mean our country, and you see the Himalayas also like that, right? But when we see our Bharat, it looks very different, right? And when we see at our Earth, is this all just the various planets which are like that? That is not very clearly mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You cannot find out from there. You know, there are other people who have gone into and done a lot of research on the Bhumandala. They have written copious notes on, you know, how all these things are structured. This Bhagavatam, remember, Parikshit Maharaj was about to die in 7 days. So Sukdev Goswami was not going to tell him all the details, especially of the material world, right? So he gave him just enough information, and enough information for all of us. But that, you know, this is known as Bharatvarsh. Now, this Bharatvarsh could have, you know, this could be our planet Earth itself being called Bharatvarsh. It could also be a set of planets which are called as Bharatvarsh, right? Or it could be just India that is Bharatvarsh. That was not very clear. Because sometimes we also hear about that beyond the Himalayas, there's a lot of gold. So when people say that, are they reference to Mount Sumeru? Or within this mountain, Himalayas itself, there is a lot of gold. We don't know that enough, you know, and this is Kali Yuga. I don't think we'll know more about that, like that.
So we cannot see Mount Meru from...
We cannot see Mount Meru, yeah. And this is the interesting thing, right? This is such an interesting thing that although Mount Meru is so tall, right, that we can see the sun, right? Over here, we do see the sun every day, right? Which is much farther from us, right? But we don't see Mount Meru. These are the these are the, you know, fantastic things of this world. You cannot see it. Maybe the sun is reflecting so hard on it that, you know, we are blinded by this, which it just appears to be black in front of us, like that. Right. So the reason I brought this up over here was that I just wanted to mention that these are the various. Surabhi Govinda, is there another question coming up, or is the old hand there? So.
Oh, now I'll put my hand down. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So, yeah, so I just wanted to mention that, you know, there's devotional service that happens in all these planetary systems. So it's not just that devotional service happens in India or on this planet Earth, right? Everywhere where you saw that, and that's the beauty of this, right? So let me quickly, how much time do we have? We have a few minutes. Okay, so I might not be able to show you everything or talk about everything, but we'll just quickly go and see. And I'm just trying to see. Yeah, I'll just try to see how much I can read, and I'll read as much so that we get a little feel of, you know, it's a very nice feeling because we all are doing devotional service, right? And so it's very nice feeling to see that there are others also in other parts of the universe. So next time you can, you know, look outside and all these planetary systems that you see, you can imagine, right? So we talked about the I'm just trying to read from a, yeah. So we talked, let me start from the beginning itself, might be easy. So I'm now talking about studying the structure of the universe. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter number 20. So in this chapter, there's a description of various islands, beginning with Lakshadweep and the oceans that surround them. There's also a description of the location and dimensions of the mountain known as Loka. The island of Prakshadweep is twice as broad as Jambudweep, which is surrounded by an ocean of salt water. The master of this island is Idmajiha, one of the sons of Maharaj Priyavrata. The island is divided into 7 regions, each with a mountain and a large river. The second island is called Shalmali Dvipa. This is surrounded by an ocean of liquor and is 3,200,000 miles wide, twice as wide as Plakshadvipa. The master of this island is Yajnabahu, one of the sons of Maharaj Priyavrata. Like Plakshadvip, this island is also divided into 7 regions, each with a mountain and a very large river. The inhabitants of this island worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Chandratma. The third island, which is surrounded by an ocean of clarified butter and is also divided into 7 regions, is called Kushadvipa. Its master is Hiranyareta, another son of Maharaj Priyavrata, and its inhabitants worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Agni, the fire god. The width of this island is 6,400,000 miles, or in other words, twice the width of Shalmali Dvipa. The fourth island, Kroncha Dvipa, which is surrounded by an ocean of milk, is 12,800,000 miles wide and is also divided, like the others, into 7 regions. So I'm going to pause over here to just do a check on, what is the diameter of our Earth? Do we know? How? Let's ask Google. How wide is the Earth? 7,000 or 8,000 miles. That's the diameter of the Earth, okay? And now let's go back to our Bhagavatam and just try to find out how big all these things are. We are 8,000 in diameter, and here this island is 6,400,000 miles. And this one was 12,800,000 miles wide and is also divided like others into 7 regions, each with large mountains and a large river. The master of this island is Grihaprishta, another son of Maharaj Priyavrata. The inhabitants of this island worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of water. The fifth island, Shakadvipa, which is 25,600,000 miles, is surrounded by an ocean of yogurt. Its master is Medatithi, another son of Maharaj Priyavrata. It is also divided into 7 regions, each with a large mountain and a large river. Its inhabitants worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Vayu or air. The sixth island, Pushkar Dvipa, which is twice as wide as the previous island, is surrounded by an ocean of clear water. Its master is Vitihotra, another son of Maharaj Priyavrata. The island is divided in 2 by a large mountain known as Manasatora. The inhabitants of this island worship Swambhu, another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Beyond Pushkar Dvipa, there are 2 islands, one always lit by the sunshine and the other always dark. Between them is a mountain known as Lokaloka, which is situated 1 billion miles from the edge of the universe. Lord Narayan, expanding his opulence, resides upon this mountain. The area beyond Lokaloka mountain is called Alokavarsha, and beyond Alokavarsha is the pure destination of people who desire liberation. So pure destination of people who desire liberation is basically Brahma Jyoti, because that's where they will end up, right? Vertically, the sun globe is situated just in the middle of the universe, in Antariksha, the space between Bhuvarloka and Purloka. So I'll just stop over here. I think this gives a very good idea of, how much worship is going on in all the different parts of this universe. So we are not just alone. That's the hope is there. So I'll stop here and open for some questions or observations on what we have been studying today as part of this 6.18 chapter. What do you say? Anything you learned today? Anything you liked today?
Hi, Krishna Mataji. Good pranam.
Hare
Wonderful
Krishna.
session, Mataji. The later part was very technical and I could catch only few, but the diagrams and everything, yeah, that were amazing, Mataji. I have one basic question. So during our devotee lecture, right, I heard that even demigods want to come to this Bhuloka because that is where it is a karma bhumi, where they can do devotional service, and elsewhere, even in Swargaloka, they won't be able to do that. But I am hearing something different, that everywhere they will be doing, but is it that they in other areas, right, in other islands, they are worshipping Supreme Personality of the Godhead, but in the form of water, in the form of Vayu. But only here we are worshipping him as he is. Is that the difference?
Well, the bigger difference, the bigger thing to keep in mind, always to keep in mind, is that where there is opulence, there is a chance of falling down, right? And where there is opulence, there is always a chance to forget Krishna. Can you tell me of a very famous person in the among the demigods who forgets Krishna every now and then?
Lord Indra.
There you go, right? So when you are there, you are exposed to this. In fact, sometimes even Lord Shiva acts in a very different manner because he's constantly handling and managing the mode of ignorance. Not that he is himself in the mode of ignorance, no, right? But he gets influenced by that. So that risk is there. So number one, right? Number two, in the heavenly planets, the age duration is very long. Age duration is very long. And then all that you're doing for that entire age duration is Indriya Utsav. Indriya Utsav means just indulging in, gratification of the sense. That's what, we worked so hard to enjoy. And that's why when we were sent to the heavenly planet, you were given a credit card. You had $1 million on it. And you said, well, every time you enjoy something, we are going to deduct something from your credit card or your debit card. And that's it. As soon as Shine Purne Martalokam Vishanti. As soon as you die, then you come to the Martya planets, the middle planets that we talked about. Now, in the middle planet is where you have got unhappiness. And when you have unhappiness, that's when you reach out to Krishna. And the life duration is less. So if you do devotional service here in Martaloka, right, every now and then there'll be something coming that will make you reach out to Krishna. Oh, Krishna, now this disaster. Oh, Krishna, now that disaster, right? Like that. So every now and then you will have plenty of opportunities to reach out to Krishna. So that's why they want to come here in a short period of time without being lured away by a lot of opulence. They just want to come up here and then quickly get out of the cycle and go back to Golok or the Vrindavan planets like that. So
Okay.
yeah, so they are doing devotional service, no doubt about it, but the fear is always there of falling down. I mean, fear of falling down is here also, but not that much because the opulence, like as they say, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So same thing. Opulence corrupts, but a lot of opulence will corrupt you, a lot. Like that. But good observation. Thank you for that. Okay, so we are a minute over. Unless there are any questions, then I will stop the class here. Okay, and then also want to let you know that next Friday I will be going and to participate. We won't have any class because of my engagement with the yatra. And I will be coming back in a couple of weeks and I'll let you know. If my meeting does not change, if my meeting time on Sunday does not change, I'm trying to schedule a few meetings for the yatra. If that doesn't change, then I will continue to have the Sunday class, the Sunday morning Bhagavad Gita class. I'll continue to have that. But if not, then I will take your leave, and then once I complete my yatra duties, then I will be back with you again. So take care, and while I'm away, I will give you two prayers that people can recite when they go to Vrindavan, and another set of prayers that they can recite when they go to Puri. So that's where the ISV Yatra is going to go this year, Puri and Vrindavan. And even if you're not going, if you think about Krishna in your mind, viniyatam, if you control your mind and you think about Krishna, then your mind itself becomes a pilgrimage. Your mind itself becomes Vrindavan, right? So these are very good prayers that you can also sing before you sit down to do any devotional service. You can say, right, pray this because you are actually going to Vrindavan. So wherever you are, wherever there are saintly devotees, tirtha kurvanti tirthani, those devotees convert that place into a Vrindavan or into a place of pilgrimage. That's why any temple that you go to is actually a place of pilgrimage. Doesn't matter whether it's in America, whether it's in India. It is a dham. Okay? So
Thank you
let's
so
read
much,
this.
Mataji.
Stay in the dham like that. And 2 prayers coming up on your WhatsApp group. Okay? Thank you so much. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya patitanam pāvnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Gopremanande Hare.
You are wonderful, Yatra.
Vande Pranam. Thank you, anybody.
Have a wonderful time. Also Krishna
Thank you.
Have a
See
nice
that.
one.